Well Texas. We're glad you're here. Visit bewelltexas.org.
Hello and welcome to March to the Pod, presented by Eternal Roofing, a show with a producer that forgot to lower the volume on the intro countdown, and so your ears got busted out again. I do apologize for that, but hey, we're here. We're back live, so if you've got comments, if you're watching us on Twitter, you're watching us on YouTube or on Facebook, drop a comment. Hopefully it shows up over here. We will talk about it. We have a lot to talk about today, too. This is season 2, episode 29, and the Cats don't have a football home for 2025. Coming pretty quick, the season. It's within 5 months away. I think it's time we figure out what the home is.
Yeah.
Just say we'll get into that. Plus some other things. We've got some really, really good topics today. Should Bobby Williams wait for the next athletic director to take over before making any personnel changes? Or should he go ahead and do that? We're going to discuss the pros and cons. Does Sam Houston even have the money to buy out a coach if you needed to right now, if Bobby wanted to? We're getting into that as well. I'm your host, producer, and the formerly banned member of catfans.com, whose bracket is already busted because nobody picked North Carolina, Corey Hogue, the non-FBS insider at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Find me on your favorite social media channels at Corey Hogue Sports. It's all one word, CORYHOGUE Sports. The knowledge of this show and the reason you're listening is the creator and manager of Sports of SHSU, again, all one word, on Twitter and Instagram, Chief Operating Officer of the Cat Fund, proud Bearcat alum, Ben Sorrells. Ben, we have gigantic news to start this show off with. The Cup has come home.
It's about
time. There it is. The Don Sanders Cup is home, Ben, for the first time since 2018. Let's give Sirianni a raise.
Let's pump the brakes, but I think it's definitely worth celebration.
Let's take just a moment here. And seriously, it's been a bad season. I don't think there's any denying that. But the pitching has improved.
Last 3 days, yeah, it's been really good.
And the wins are a little more often right now. It doesn't seem as bleak as it did a couple weeks ago.
Right, yeah. You lost 2 out of 3 to ACU, but one of them you had a real good shot to win it there in the 9th, and you just didn't. ACU was a team that was 12-5 coming into that weekend, and so you lost pretty handily Friday night. Saturday's a game you let get away from you, and then you win a pitcher's duel on Sunday, which is something we haven't said. I don't know if we've said it at all this year, that you win a pitcher's duel, which was good to see. And then you win the game against Houston that was resumed, that was halted the week before, made a 3-run comeback and won that one on a walk-off, and then played a really well-rounded game last night. Had some really timely hitting. Addison Smith had a big homer there late. Hunter Autry had another clutch hit. And then the pitching stepped up big. I mean, Cam Diaz closed it out, and he's a guy that's really struggled on the mound. I think that might have been his first scoreless appearance this year, and what a time to do it. So a lot of guys starting to step up, starting to define some roles. In the past handful of games for Sam Houston is the best his team has looked probably all year.
You know, as a guy who, if you've listened to this podcast, you probably already know I coach some Little League Baseball. I have 2 teams this year. And what I tell my older boys is that negativity builds negativity. So when errors build other errors. The way to turn that around is with positive. You make a play, it builds momentum as well. And when you hit the ball, we always say hitting's contagious. Fielding is contagious too. Positive things build on each other, and it seems like they're building some positivity right now.
And there were so many unknowns coming into this year, and I think guys finding some roles have been really critical too. Parker Blackman kind of anchoring down the leadoff spot has been big. Jace Martinez, after missing pretty much the first 2 weeks, has looked really, really good these past 2 weeks. And then you're starting to find some guys maybe in the rotation that can give you some innings. Felix Schleg got a Sunday start after some good relief appearances, and he went almost 6 innings. I think gave up 1 run. And you're seeing some other arms start to come along too. Danny Valadez, big one of them. He's thrown 5 out of the last 6 days. So I don't know how much more he can throw over these next few days. But you're starting to see some guys start to find some more defined roles. And I think the biggest one is Addison Smith started the year at shortstop when Jason Martinez was out. And he really struggled there defensively, and I think it impacted his bat. But I think over, I believe it was his last 40 at-bats, he's batting .340. Since he made the move to second base, and the defense has been spectacular. And so I know this roster might not have the talent that it should or that it needs to, but I think you also got to give the coaching staff for starting to find some roles and putting guys in positions to succeed, and hopefully they can keep it going.
Guys, that was impressive. Like, he just dropped names and stats and all this good information, and none of this was planned. Like, I mean, all he knew is that the cup comes home. That's all I'd put on show notes because I'm really a detailed guy.
Yeah.
And he comes and just drops all that knowledge right there. That is great stuff. Jason Plotkin is chiming in over on YouTube. He said, did South Alabama get invited to join the podcast today?
They
Ben,
did.
I'll let you take that one.
I was going to say they did, but then we rescinded the offer, and we brought Corey back on for another week at the last minute.
Whew. Close call here for this guy, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, before we get into trying to figure out where in the world the football team is going to play their home games next year, let's get a word in here from our friends over at Eternal Roofing.
Eternal Roofing and General Contracting is your choice for integrity work in the Texas Hill Country. Taylor Andrus and crew provide experienced quality roofing services with a mission of roofing with faith, serving with integrity, and sheltering homes in the spirit of stewardship. Don't just take our word for it. Here's what satisfied customer Pamela Allen had to say about Eternal Roofing. They did a great job on our patio roof, came out quick for a quote. The quote was very reasonable, and they started and finished work well and quickly. Not a bad thing to say about Eternal Roofing. Give Eternal Roofing a call today at area code 830-251-5673 or area code 936-215-8539, or you can email them taylor@eternalroofingtx.com.
So for those unaware, our stadium is undergoing a renovation project. And it doesn't have a press box. They need a place to play in 2025. Oh my goodness, we don't even know where they're playing yet. What in the world is happening? But first, I think it's important. A team was kicked out of the football field last year, right? The track and field. Jason Plotkin, good question. What's the latest on track and field facility?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I talked with Bobby Williams in my interview with him, I think back in August or September of last year. I can't remember the exact date, but he said they had a planning meeting that next week after that interview to decide a site. And according to the last board materials, you could see the projects on there. It's something that they're working towards, but there's no site that's been selected. It's still in the planning phase. All that's on there is a budget. And so it's really kind of up in the air because I was under the understanding that a site would be selected Q3, end of 2024. And as of February of this year, there's still been no site selected. And I think budget is definitely part of that. It's likely a lot more expensive than they thought it would be. And a couple of the sites he talked to me about, there were some hurdles with some of them, whether it be securing the land that it's on, will it work to be able to put a site there? So it's really kind of up in limbo. I haven't heard anything, and maybe by the time the next board materials are out, which I think is May, if I'm not mistaken, maybe we'll see something. But yeah, that one's kind of up in limbo right now.
Well, just put it right on there with the football team. Okay, let's start when we're going to talk about this home field situation. What right now are even the options that they can discuss for where to play?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things that come to mind. Is one, when I'll reference it again when I talked to Bobby back in August or September of last year. He said the plan was to play at Bowers, but they were looking at contingency plans also because it wasn't a sure thing. Bobby also said that in a podcast on, I think it was the Bearcat Sports Network last summer, that they met with the finance team and operations team at Sam Houston, and they all agreed that their top choice was to play at Bowers. The fact that they've listed all games for next year as TBA and not Bowers Stadium anymore on the website makes you think it's not Bowers. And you would think if it was Bowers, they would just come out and say it. So it's an option, but I don't think it's going to happen at this point.
Well, let's break into this, right? And why that probably is not the best option. There's no press box, right? And I get it. The football game can be played without a press box, but have you tried keeping stats outside in the cold? I mean, they'd have to have some way to do that. There's a lot of operations that go on behind the scenes at a football game.
That was my next point, is the operations of TV is something you can't neglect at the FBS level, because these games are on national television and you have to have the facilities to be able to have those people come in and do the job they need to do. So it would be very tough to be able to do that with the way Bowers is right now.
You want to be a laughing stock? Do you want to make sickos and Reddit CFB and all these? Do you want to blow up and go viral for all the wrong reasons? Try to have a game at a place, TV game at a place with no press box.
It's not really possible.
No, that doesn't make any sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so are there any other options?
Yeah, so the two that I've heard, and I think either both of these, a combination of them, going to just one of them is going to happen, but NRG Stadium is very likely to be all the games, most of them, or at least one of them. And then the other option I've heard is Shell Stadium in Houston, where the Houston Dynamo play. And if I was a betting man, I would be betting that it would be a combination of those two. And conversations, or overhearing something Coach Longo told us when we were with him a couple weeks ago when we had some of our members on a facility visit, he said those were the two most likely options they were looking at. There was nothing for sure there. But those two just kind of make the most sense from a logistical standpoint. They can house operations for TV if needed. And with games being on weeknights for about half the season, the NRG option could definitely open up, because you don't have to worry about other college or NFL games that are there. So my first guess would be the majority of them are played at NRG, but it wouldn't shock me if at least one or two are also played at Shell Stadium in Houston.
Okay. Hey, let's get into this. NRG. That is not a good option, in my opinion. I think that would cost an outrageous amount of money to rent that place for your home games. And B, why are you going to rent it if you're not even going to get it half full?
Yeah, I mean, it depending on who you're playing, it's maybe not even drawing what the SFA game would draw, which was 25,000, maybe pushing 30,000 some years. Yeah. But the cost is definitely a thing to consider. And you have the agreement for at least one game a year, so I think you can bet on at least one game, because you already have that agreement. So, but what do you do with the other 4 or 5 that you have in there?
As someone who has been at all stadiums for football games, I know there is one conflict I can already think with Shell Energy. First off, Shell Energy by far is the better choice, in my opinion. Smaller seating, really kind of a cool stadium. It is a soccer stadium turned football stadium, kind of like Frisco. Honestly, I like it a little better than the way Frisco was. We'll see what Frisco renovates to, but I'm a fan of it. I like that one. But there's a problem here, Ben. there's already a college football team that plays home games there, and I already found one date, and there's only one where they conflict with each other, and that is the home opener of the season when the Labor Day Classic is happening at Shell Energy Stadium, Texas Southern and Prairie View A&M, and that's when Sam Houston is to host UNLV. I could see a combination where that one goes to NRG since it is UNLV and the rest of them go to Shell. That's not ideal, but that might be the best scenario in this, overall.
I agree too, and I'm trying to pull up their schedule here too, but the
Which one?
Dynamo schedule.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about the Dynamo. Well, they play soccer at the soccer stadium too. I forget that.
Right, and that goes through October 18th.
Can Jason Plunkett say, can the non-FBS insider confirm what programs have played at Shell? Is Texas Southern still there? Yes, Texas Southern plays some of their home games there. And you know what else was there recently? Last year was the Division III National Championship game was held at Shell Energy too. So when you're talking a facility that I think would be perfect for hosting the Bearcats, it's probably Shell Energy if all the dates can work out.
And another thing too, and I think this was something the old coaching staff wanted to do. You mentioned the UNLV game, and I think this is something you may have to do. And I think there is still some opportunities to have flexibility within the schedule, but they wanted to flex that UNLV game to a Thursday night so you have an extended travel week before Hawaii. So I wonder if you could maybe flex the game forward or back, if it's a weekday game, if it's UNLV, if that's what it takes to be able to get into a stadium for that date. So I think that's a possibility. It was never confirmed that they did that. It was just an idea that they had, which makes sense before the long travel week for Hawaii. So maybe you push a game up or back if you need to make something work.
All right, so we've heard what I think and what I feel is best. I was very open about that. It does not matter. It matters what you think. Ben, what do you think? Let's do it from two angles. First, let's go with what do you think is the best option for Sam Houston, their home games this year?
Based on what we laid out, I think you probably need to play 2 or 3. It probably needs to be a split between NRG and Shell Stadium. My ideal plan, and I don't know if this works from a TV perspective, but there are a lot of really nice high school stadiums in the Houston area, and it might be too late now, but some that hold 10, 15,000 with legitimate press boxes that can probably hold what they need to. Ideally, you go to one of those in the North Houston area, whether it be Aldine, Tomball, the Woodlands, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It's closer to campus. It's cheaper. They have the facilities. It might not look the best, but I think it's a school that's kind of strapped for money, and that might be an issue with getting into stadiums. That's probably what my first option would have been, but I think it's too late at this point.
I don't know that it's too late. But also, let me throw out a high school stadium that also hosted a Division III national championship game, and I've been inside. Now, I don't know that capacity-wise is big enough, but I can tell you the press box is freaking nice. They've got everything set up, and that's Wood Forest Bank Stadium.
Yeah, that's where my high school played, so I'm very familiar with it. It's 35, 40 minutes from campus. Like you said, they have the press box. I think they have the locker room capabilities too, because if they're able to host the D3 national championship game, they could probably host
There's a lot of players that travel, man.
Yeah, there are. And that D3 national championship game, if I'm not mistaken, they aired that on ESPNU or ESPN2, so that's the kind of broadcast that you're going to be on. Mm-hmm. So that would have been my first choice, but like I said, with the way the high school seasons are scheduled, I don't know if that's an option now at this point, about 5 months out.
Let's make it a Sam Houston World Tour.
Yeah.
Let's just do this, right? Okay, here we go. Sam Houston World Tour. We're going to have a game at NRG, a game at Shell, a game at Wood Forest. Give me a few others. Where else should Sam Houston travel for home games this year, Ben?
Oh gosh. Let's make Constellation Field into a baseball or a football field for a game. Like they always do that for bowl games. I think that could be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Dallas, maybe let's have a Dallas game at the old Globe Life Field that's used for the UFL.
I would be there for that one. That
I
would
know
be
it's
really cool.
it's probably 2.5 hours, 3 hours from campus, but I think that could be cool. So that completes the world tour.
I've been at multiple football games in there, and yes, it is weird that the baseball stadium was made into a football stadium. There still is something special about that place, even now that it's a football stadium. It's a fun place to go to a game at, even for football.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're throwing crazy ideas out there too, do you try to get into a Houston or a Rice?
How about Houston Christian? Jason Plotkin. I'd love that idea. If you need a CVS, shut up.
We said it at the same time. Pick up your prescription, go play a football game.
That's right. Honey, grab $20 and my prescription. We're going to go down to CVS and watch football.
Grab the health insurance card for the players and the prescription.
Yes. Hold on just a second. Okay, no playing basketball. My son is trying to play basketball while while we're recording this or live on this. And so, so if you hear the ball bouncing in the background, I do apologize. I don't have one of those soundproof studios. How much money do you think I have? Good Lord, look at the background. Just saying. Yeah. Hey, real quick, for anyone curious or wondering, I have the hat I'm wearing today is the Clearwater Beach Dogs. And if you're watching live or watching this recording or listening to this recording, you can go to one of these at Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube page, March to the Pod, and see it. I'm putting up, it's hard to see the hat sometimes with the background, but there it is right there on screen, exactly what the hat looks like. That is a pretty fine, pretty nice little hat right there.
It's beautiful. And we've been talking some minor league hats offline this week. There was an interesting collection that was revealed. I think it was yesterday, maybe Monday.
Oh, yeah. Goodness gracious, the space clowns.
We'll see if any of them make it on Corey's head.
We'll see. I don't know that we're going to get space clowns. That one was a little too much for me. That one, a little crazy.
Yeah. I'll have to send you the other one. It's hard to describe it, but it was really cool.
Awesome. We are a podcast on the Republic of Football Network and an extension of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We're also a member of the CUSA Podcast Roundtable, featuring podcasts from all 12 Conference USA schools. Please like and subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on the various social media channels, including Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at March to the Pod. It's all one word, March the number 2, the Pod. We have a lot more to talk about today, as in we know there's going to be another AD coming. Should any coaching changes happen until that new AD arrives? We'll discuss right after this word from our friends and presenting sponsor at Eternal Roofing. Eternal Roofing only uses the finest materials in the roofing business while providing an exceptional warranty. Why do they use CertainTeed products? Because they complement any appearance, provide exceptional and reliable strength, and are known for their enduring performance. Here's what Shane Sosa had to say about Eternal Roofing. Taylor and his team are amongst the highest level of professionals. They care about their customers and go above and beyond just doing the job. Give Eternal Roofing a call today at area code 830-251-5673 or area code 936-215-8539 or email Taylor at eternalroofingtx.com. Big, huge thank you to our friends over at Eternal Roofing. We are proud to team up with them, and they are, Taylor is a proud Bearcat alum, and they love to support the Bearcats. Very, very, very thankful for them. And if you need any roofing, you're not going to find anybody better. Okay.
Ones to go to.
They are the ones. Now, here's a question. We know that Bobby is likely retiring soon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've figured this is coming. Is there a set date yet on that?
Yeah, there is, and we actually had this in Cat Fund. This was probably a year and a half, a little over a year ago at this point. The contract goes through August of 26. So pretty much this athletic calendar year and the next one, 25, 26. And then that very likely is going to be it for him. So that's kind of what it at least appears like will be the end of his tenure as athletic director. So has about a year and a third left, I guess you could call it.
Okay. Basically, it's one more academic year left because we are nearing the end of this one pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So here's why this is even a question right now. A lot of athletic directors, as we know, they like to hire their own people. We know Sam Houston is going to have a new one. We have no idea who it is. We have no idea if it'll be internal, external, any of that. I doubt that anyone at this point even knows.
It's probably too early anyway.
Way too early. Way too early. And if you already knew, you would have already you would already put out something about that, right? Like to work together, maybe collaborate for a year. That probably would have already come out or would come out soon.
Yep.
And we have, I mean, look, there's questions that we have around some of our programs and some of the coaches. But should Bobby be making a coaching change with 1 year left, or should Bobby wait and let the new AD make that? And I'll tell you why. Because if Bobby makes a hire, this new AD could be stuck with someone they do not want and does not fit their plan, does not fit their vision, whatever it is, for 2 to 3 years.
Right.
That a lot of time is not fair to a new AD. But it is still Bobby's job. Bobby has every right to make changes and make these decisions. So what do you think about it, Ben?
Yeah, I think I'll preface it too that we're not talking about any programming specific, just kind of a general overall.
Yeah, no, just in general, right?
Yeah, going into
Say
this.
A coach leaves, he's going to replace him, right? Like we get that, but we're talking about removing one leadership change, and we have zero idea any of this would happen or which program.
Yeah, and I'm of the opinion, if we're just generally speaking, if Bobby feels like a change in leadership needs to be made, it probably needs to happen. And I'm of that opinion because if the ship is going the wrong direction and it keeps heading that direction for longer than it needs to, it's just going to be harder to steer it in the right direction. And so if a move needs to be made, it needs to be made as quick as possible. And if there's one thing that Bobby has been good at during his tenure, and not a lot of people can really fault him on this, no matter what sport it is he's hired very well. I mean, it's probably a 75, 80, 85% hit rate, which is really good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Coach Fritz, Coach Keeler. I know Hooten never made a tournament, but Hooten kept this program relevant for a long time. Coach Mudge was a good hire. I know Coach Justice, things aren't great right now, but she at least turned the program around and got it going again. Coach Deggs. So there's a lot of really notable hires that he's put together. So I think if in his gut he feels he needs to make a move, I think it needs to happen as quick as possible. And that's kind of my thought on it.
Okay. And look, that is extremely reasonable. And I think that there was nothing you said that I could disagree with or say is wrong. Because if it is going, and with what you said, if you're the president right now, because ultimately they have president has a say in this too. So if you're the president, because he's had more of a success rate, do you let him know, hey, if you think a decision needs made, let's make it before you get out of here?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to consider too, is Dr. White's presence in it, because she's very involved with athletics in each program as well. And I think if she thinks there's a move that needs to be made, I think that's part of it too, is her opinion. And because she's going to be here for all we know, longer than 1 year. So she's going to want to start turning things as quick as possible, regardless of who the AD is. So I think on her, and there might be even more push to make changes if they feel like there is a change that needs to be made at some point.
Did you happen to see the piece I wrote that came out on Tuesday about
Possibly.
vertical alignment?
I saw it got posted. I didn't have a chance to really look into it or read it.
The vertical alignment is a big piece. There's like 5 pieces to it: the president, the AD, the donors, right, the fans. I mean, you got so many different parts to this, and that they all need to be aligned properly. And it starts with the president. If the president cares about athletics, shows up to events, they're going to want to win. That right there will put the pressure on the athletic director to hire the coaches, who is also a part of this. You know, you've got president, athletic director, coaches, donors, fans. That's the order that a lot of this goes in. They put pressure. The president puts pressure on the athletic director, says, I want to win. The AD is going to go tell a coach, you either win or you're gone. This is how it goes, right? The AD is going to go to donors and say, hey, we want to win. You're going to want me to boot this coach if we don't. So I'm going to need some money, because it takes a lot of money to be successful in college athletics at every single level.
Yep.
And then you need the fans. You've got to show up. If you really care, put your butts in the seats. That supports the team in more ways than you realize. All those things play together. They all play a vital role. It is nice to know that Dr. White is very athletics oriented. And I've seen that too. I think that also helps. And I reference the vertical alignment for this reason. I don't know that it's going to matter if Bobby hires a new head coach or the next AD or waits for the next. I don't know if it matters when any of this happens. As long as the president is vertically aligned and cares, there's going to be a right hire made for athletic director.
Right.
Because the president tells the AD, either we win or you're gone. Ultimately, that's how this goes. You're judged on the performance of the athletics department as a whole.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point you bring up too, because Bobby's been here for forever. And so whoever the new person is, I'm interested to see what that contract looks like, what kind of leash they get based on the performance of the programs, because up until this year, I mean, this is probably, I don't know if the worst year is the right word, but there's been a lot of struggles this year. And how many years of this would Dr. White allow, I guess is the right word, with whoever the new athletic director is? Because, I mean, we've won consistently pretty much across the board in the Southland and the WAC, and it's a little bit of a different animal now. So what kind of leash does the new AD get when they come in, when it comes to winning?
Is this year worse than last year?
I think so, because football was bad last year, but you were a lot better across the board, I felt like.
It looks like. Are you still there with us, Ben?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. So last year, 2023, 2024, wasn't a banner year for Cats athletics.
No, and I think you kind of flipped football and basketball on the men's side this year compared to last year, but baseball was better last year. Softball's about the same. I think golf was better last year. Bowling to this point has been better. Soccer had a similar year. So I would say last year was maybe a tick above this year.
Okay, so how much of this is just because this moved to FBS? I also think people need to understand you're not just, if you think you're moving up and you're automatically going to be competitive at the FBS level with those group of 5 teams, you're not. That's just not how this works. It takes some time. There is a different infrastructure that goes with that. A lot of that stuff isn't necessarily seen, but if you go and look at a staff directory of these athletics offices, you'll see a big difference between a Baylor and a Sam Houston, right? Like, and you will see a difference between, like, let's say a New Mexico State right now and a Sam Houston, right? They're still trying to catch up in some of those areas. Is this something that you think Dr. White understands? that this is part of the process of the transition up to FBS and might be a little more patient with it?
Yes and no. I think they definitely realize there is a gap that is there. But Dr. White is so competitive that, and Bobby is too, that I don't know if they're really going to care if there's that big of a gap. If there's 2, 3, 4 years and you haven't won, there's really going to be no excuse for it because that's what they expect, even if you are underfunded. So I think they realize that there's a gap there and that we might not have the resources that even Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee, New Mexico State have, but I think they're still going to expect results because, heck, even when we were in the Southland, we weren't the most funded team out there. Or in the FCS, we were kind of slightly above average when it came to FCS funding. I saw a stat that we were the number one program in the 2010s in FCS football based on wins compared to program revenue and budget. And that was at the FCS level. We were making
that's nice. But that's also a shot at the donors and people that there's not the money at Sam Houston.
Right. And yeah, it's definitely an issue.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. Chris Gilstrap on Facebook has a question. When is it time for fresh faces and new ideas? And that is a great question because when you're talking about, and we can get into this more as we go along, I'm sure we will, over the next few months and weeks of Bobby's tenure, especially as they start, we know they're interviewing candidates and such. Is this an important hire to be outside Sam Houston for the next AD? Or is it, I personally, I'm not sure it's better to kind of keep a status quo and have someone that's been under Bobby's tutelage.
I think it's better to go outside the box, honestly. I really do, because fundraising is the number one thing in college athletics nowadays, and I think you just kind of need some new blood. You need someone from someone else to bring in some new ideas. Not that what we've done here hasn't worked, but I think you just got to try something different. It's a little bit new of a level. So I think you need someone new, someone fresh that's maybe done it at a high level that could bring in some new ideas, know what it looks like. Maybe they've got a strong donor base backing them. I know that's a thing with head coaches. It might be a thing with athletic directors too, but fresh faces and new blood, I think it's definitely something to consider. And I think you probably should look outside the box in someone that's not at Sam Houston.
Chris Gilstrap said, amen. Ben, I agree. I think it should be outside the university, outside the box, for reasons that we're going to discuss here in a moment. We're gonna stay on this topic, but shift it a little to talk about buyout money. If Bobby does want to make a change and the coach is still under contract, is there even that money available? That we're going to talk about. But first, we're going to hear one more time from our friends over at Eternal Roofing.
Eternal Roofing is locally owned and dedicated to giving back to the community by supporting local organizations and charities. They are also the winner of Nextdoor's Neighborhood Faves for 2 consecutive years. And as you know, if you've listened to this podcast, Eternal Roofing is your choice for Christmas lights. They provide premium lights tailored to fit your home, season-long maintenance, and hassle-free removal. Kyle Tatum said, they're very professional and great quality, on time and clean, and really made me feel like they cared for me and my home. Give Eternal Roofing a call today at area code 830-251-5673 or area code 936-215-8539, or you can email Taylor at eternalroofingtx.com.
Huge thank you to our friends over at Eternal Roofing and Taylor Andrus and Company. Cannot recommend them enough. And also, I can't recommend this enough. We talk about it. We talk about winning. We talk about how it takes money. What can fans do? Fans, you can put your butts in the seats. You know what else you can do if you're a fan? You could give as low as $10 a month to support these athletes. The NIL is playing a huge role. And Ben is going to tell you how to get involved with our CAT Fund.
Yeah, right there. Thanks to the producer who's doing a great job. cat-fund.com. can sign up and become a member today and support these athletes. That's the biggest thing that we want to do, is support these athletes and support these programs and help us continue to win. So definitely want to sign up as little as $10 a month, and you get a lot of good perks and Cat Fund merch and stickers and access to events and access to our auctions and events that we do. So want to sign up, become a member, get access to the insider info too. Going to have our spring football preview piece, which has a couple really good inside nuggets in there. One that I sent you yesterday, Corey, which is a pretty notable piece going into this year. So definitely.
Yeah,
want to sign
it
up,
was not a positive note either, by the way.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I think it could be, but yeah, it's definitely probably not a good thing. So yeah, but I think I'm already over probably about 1,500 words right now, and I still have a little bit to go. So that should be out Friday or Saturday. So definitely want to sign up and support these athletes. That's the number one thing.
Definitely. And you and anyone else outside of Corey Hogue who joins the Cat Fund can get all of that insider information at Cat Fans. I get banned for some reason. Not sure why.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about this, and I think we're just going to continue this conversation, and we're going to shift it just a tad. Bobby, we know, has a year left. That's likely it. It looks like that's going to be it for him. It makes perfect sense. The next AD hire should come from the outside. I get that. I understand that. Here's my question as to why this is going to be important. Why new blood might be so important is because of this next thing we're going to talk about of, does Sam Houston have the money to buy out a contract? And before we kind of dive into some of that, here's my question for you, Ben. It's not an easy one. Has there been, because I've gotten tidbits here and there from some Sam supporters at times, that there are some donors who have left because of soured relationship or whatever it may be. The new AD is going to need to keep the donors you have now and going to need to bring a whole lot in for situations like buying out contracts, etc.
Oh, yeah. 100% agree. They need to, and I wouldn't say there's a ton of there's definitely a couple key relationships that are there that need to continue to be there and continue to, continue to cater to them, I guess. But I think the biggest thing is finding people outside of those handful of people to be able to sustain this program going forward, because financially and raising money is the biggest thing in college athletics nowadays. And I know we'll get into it more, but it all revolves around money. And I think that's the biggest thing for the new AD, is to be able to find a way to bring in new money and find a way to continue to bring in the money that is there.
There it is. First thing you want to do when for the new AD, if I had to give them to do on a to-do list. To-do list item number 1, keep the base of donors that we have.
Yes.
To-do list item number 2, if any donors have left for whatever reason, go repair those relationships, bring them home. We're building our house a little better there.
Right.
Number 3, go find those new people. We need a bigger house.
We do.
Right? So those are the 3 on the to-do list. We need more people, because if Bobby wanted to make a change with a program and that coach has a year or 2 left and has a buyout on a contract, does Sam Houston even have that money to buy out a contract right now?
It's a tough answer, because I think it might depend on the contract, but as a kind of overall answer, I would say no. And even up until probably 2 years ago, if the way college athletics looked like it did 2 years ago now, I still might have said yes, but there's been a couple variables that have really changed my answer on this for Sam Houston. The first one being you're going to have to start paying on this new stadium soon, and that's not cheap. It's not something a bond is something you have to pay on at some point. and that's something you got to take into account. It's not a cheap stadium; it's $60 million, and that's one. The second one is related to the House settlement, and there's two aspects to that. The first one is back pay. Louisiana Tech announced, I think it was last week, they're expecting to pay $300,000 a year in back pay because of the House settlement, and I've heard Sam Houston's back pay is going to be similar. We're likely not getting off free because we were an FCS program for much of the last decade. So you can expect $300,000 probably in back pay. And then the other one is revenue sharing. You've opted into revenue sharing. How much and what goes to what sport, we're not sure. But the combination of having to pay for a stadium, having to pay back pay, and having to do revenue sharing with right now what is the lowest budget in the FBS. It might be lower once Missouri State and Kennesaw come in. I mean, that's really tough to do, to ask the program to buy out even 1 year of a coach's contract at $200,000 or $300,000. So
Yeah, because that's what we're talking about. Like, to give people a realm of money, let's most 200 to what we would just say 800,000 would be the range. Like,
yeah,
that
basketball,
most coaches
football,
make.
baseball, yeah, somewhere in there for coaches.
Somewhere in the 200 to 800. So you're talking 1 year, you're talking minimum 200,000 up to 800,000.
Right.
You start multiplying that by some years, it gets into the millions fast. And listen, I wrote about this from a non-FBS angle, but I promise you this has a huge effect on the FBS as well. Not only do you have to worry about revenue sharing, not only do you have to worry about back pay and the bond and paying all this other stuff. There are some hard financial times that seem like they're coming towards universities.
Yeah.
The Department of Education, if this gets completely shut down, as has been discussed nationally, politically, whether you agree or not, we're not getting into any of that, I promise you. But if it does go, there's a lot of federal money that these schools get, including Sam Houston. A lot of federal money. And the biggest concerns I've heard from administrators and coaches throughout this entire election season and on now into the current administration is, and these are people that support the administration. They support this stuff. At the same time, they're questioning, we need that money. Where's that going to come from? And if there's not, I know the states pick it up. Well, how long is it going to take the states? The states don't have any structure. The state of Texas meets every 2 years, right? For what, 6 months, every 2 years. That's not enough. You're going to call emergency sessions and all this stuff. There's so many parts to this, so many things that could be coming financially. Inflation's had a big impact on universities, and it's going to continue to have that impact on these universities. Things have gotten a bit more expensive. That's not a good thing. That $60 million press box may end up being $65-70 million with inflation.
Well, another thing, just kind of talking about trends in the economy, marketplace, and stuff like that, is enrollment in universities is largely down across the board. And I know in the board report for Sam Houston, their freshman class enrollment was below what they expected it to be. And they weren't growing at the rate they were expecting it to be. And the athletic department budget is largely funded by a student fee. So the less students you have on campus, the less money you're able to bring in there. Or even if it stays flat, you're really falling behind just because of inflation, like you said. So that's another angle to look at it too, where it just becomes more difficult.
And that was another part of that story, is the incoming enrollment cliff. Like, the first part is just questions. We don't know what the Department of Education is going to do, and nor should we speculate or try to guess. If you're an administrator or a coach, you've got to worry about those things. That's not for us to worry about right now. But this enrollment cliff, if you're not looking for it, it's already started. Like you said, I mean, it's flat. High schools have lost a lot of money. High schools have lost a lot of the enrollment. That people are having fewer kids. More expensive to have children. And that is cycling down. It's coming right now through our high schools and junior highs and elementaries. Here soon, that cliff is coming to colleges. And that is going to be very, very painful for those who do not have a robust recruitment of new students.
Right. Yeah. And just to kind of continue along the same trend, I know Sam Houston recently has kind of raised admission standards, which I think they probably needed to, because I thought they were too low for a little bit. But when you raise admission
You're telling me
standards,
they would have let me in.
yeah, they might still. You never know.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding. But when you raise admission standards, you're going to have less people applying, probably less people enrolling. So I think there's good and bad to it too. You want to bring in the right people to the university, but at the same time, you want to keep enrollment high. And athletics at a school where you're largely funded by a student fee, you definitely want to keep enrollment high.
And you want to build on it. I was at Tarleton McNeese last August, first football game. It was on ESPN2, if you all remember. Before the game started, they did a new student run.
Yeah.
It was like 7,000 kids, right? 7,000 people running. They are growing. We don't know what the secret is. Look, I'm a writer. I am not an administrator. I am as low on the smart totem pole as you can get. But I also understand that this is just the trying to think of how I want to word this. There is a way to go get more students. Some universities are doing it. A lot are not. They need to figure out what those other universities are doing and start doing some of that stuff.
No, I agree. And we'll see if they do. I mean, it's a really critical couple of years for the university with where athletics is at, where enrollment's heading at in general. And so we'll see what happens. But all in all, I don't think we have the money to afford a buyout. And so I think at least right now, when it comes to making moves, it's a coach on an expiring contract and you choose not to renew it. And that's kind of the way you have to go about things, at least for now. I mean, there might be a circumstance where things have just gone haywire and you really just got to make a move and it might hurt financially, but I would lean towards we don't have the money to go through a buyout if we had to do that.
Okay, so earlier in the show, you said that Bobby should be able and have the ability to make a change if things are headed in the exact wrong direction. How bad would it be? Because before you get rid of a coach with a buyout, you've got to go make sure you got that money.
Right.
That's just how I look at it. How bad would it be if that program, if he can't go find that money's not out there, and that program then suffers and goes even further down? That's even more painful to watch it, and that's going to hurt the athletic department as a whole and that program specifically, whichever one it is, for a long term.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, do you let that sport suffer for a while and it just struggles for maybe a half decade because you have to let it struggle? Or do you go through that financial pain, which maybe ends up hurting all sports because you've got to cut back from the budget maybe 5-10% for all sports because of that buyout. So it's definitely a fine line you got to walk.
It is, and budgets are getting cut all across every athletic department I hear of right now. Budgets are getting cut.
Well, and that's another thing too. Is, I mean, I don't think Sam Houston's there right now, but I saw a Matt Brown piece last week that a lot of schools are looking at moving from Division I to Division II, D2 to D3, whatever it might be, or because of academic constraints. And I know a lot of sports are cutting Olympic sports, and not that I think we're going to move down a level. I don't think we're anywhere near that. But do you have to cut an Olympic sport to be able to continue to make things meet? I don't think we're there yet, but a lot of schools are doing it, even at the Division I level, FBS level.
Man, that would be rough.
It's not outside the realm of possibility.
It's not, because look, this we're talking big money coming down the pipe that Sam Houston's going to have to pay.
Yeah.
With this NIL, the revenue sharing, the congressional deal, all that stuff. the house settlement. We're talking real money, and this isn't monopoly stuff, guys. It is for me, but not for the universities, right? So, like, this is the problem we're running into. Can Sam Houston? They made the move, and we all, at the time we all know they had to make it. That was the best move. Could all these situations outside of their control maybe force their hand at some point to start to maybe even think about the idea of going back down a level?
Yeah, I think the cutting of a sport is probably more realistic than moving down a level, at least right now. I don't see it happening, but I think it's going to happen somewhere. At some point, FBS to FCS, FCS to Division II, it's going to happen with some school, and I think most schools will take the route of cutting a sport or two, whether that be a track and field, a wrestling, a tennis, whatever Olympic sport, that swimming that they might have on campus. I think that's the route most schools will take, and I feel like Sam Houston would take if it ever did get there. But hopefully we don't have to get there. I mean, that would be, like you said, a worst case scenario.
If we had that would be,
because I mean, that's a lot of kids that are on scholarship. They're going to lose scholarship, lose opportunities, people that are losing jobs, and that's the absolute last thing I would want. But it's a reality of today's college athletics, and something you got to be aware of.
It's a reality many schools face. Division III, was it Birmingham Southern was in the College World Series playing baseball while the school was shut down.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, it's just a reality that hopefully it doesn't strike Sam Houston. That would be the absolute worst case scenario. At the same time, do you need the number to anyone at the Lone Star Conference? I'm kidding. Hey, that's how I'm going to end the show, right? That's what we're going to do at the end of the show is Corey's going to go out here and talk his Lone Star Conference. And we want to say thank you, Ben, for joining. You are by far the only reason people tune in. We want to thank everyone who is watching, listening. Without you, none of this is even possible. Hope that you enjoy it. If there are topics you want to hear and want discussed that you care about, let us know. We will discuss them. Thank you to everyone who chimed in and with comments today. If you would like to comment, you're listening on a podcast, catch us live Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Most Wednesdays at 4 p.m. we'll be live. Some we won't. We'll try to announce it. It's up to the producer, and he's not that good any darn way. In the meantime, Ben, this was a wonderful conversation, but we need to get some positivity rolling back with these Cats. And you know who's on a roll? That baseball team, man, bringing home the Sanders Cup. Let's lead them out with some sort of a cheer to get them a little more this weekend.
Yeah, eat 'em up, Cats. Let's axe the Jacks in softball tonight and beat the Bulldogs this weekend.
Oh, we gonna axe some Jacks.